It's me, your boy, PhilbertGreen, back at it again with the painting. Once again, this isn't really a tutorial, but if I can help you out in any way, then that's just awesome. In this video, we're painting none other than Mr. Box Art himself, our primary antagonist, Nemesis Stage 1. Yup, you guessed it, I started off by first base coating Demi with Mechanicus Standard Grey. All of the paints I used in this video are from the Citadel range, and I watered down all my paints before using them, and I applied at least 2 thin coats. With our chunky boy based, it's time to start painting. As you might be able to see in the video, the spray didn't quite get to some parts of the model, but that's not a problem. First up, I started with the bulk of the mini, his boots, his trousers, and badass trench coat. I used what is rapidly now becoming my go-to black paint, Corvus Black. Next up, I painted his skin using Rakarth Flesh. I tried to be careful with my application and avoid his tentacles and any exposed muscle that he was showing. With the skin now done, and that huge blob mistakenly applied to his coat, I painted his tentacles erupting from his neck. For these, I used Screamer Pink. Much like the mercs in the previous video, this guy got pretty messy. The next thing to do was the exposed muscles on his shoulder, and the smaller patches around his neck. These were done with Khorne Red. With the muscles now done, and a small amount of Khorne Red applied to his gums, I used Rakarth Flesh again, this time though, to paint his teeth. With all the pieces now finally coming together, I next painted his Bazooka. I used Mechanicus Standard Grey to paint the body of the rocket launcher, as I wanted it to stand out from the black of his trench coat. I then used Abbadon Black to paint inside the exhaust port and the muzzle of this OP weapon. After that, I wanted to give this big bad boss killer some definition, and I painted the raised up and bolted on parts using Leadbelcher. With the launcher now suitably customised, I again used Leadbelcher to paint the buckles on his coat and the staples holding his entire head together. While you're waiting for things to dry, make sure you aren't attacked by any other BOWs that Umbrella sends your way. The last thing to do before we cover up all that messiness was to use a tiny amount of white scar to paint his single eye. Now that all my horrific mistakes are covered up, it's time for the washes. I used Nuln Oil to wash his boots, trousers, jacket, rocket launcher, and any of the parts that are painted silver. Applying a wash to a dark colour like black will only really make it darker, but it still brings out the recesses, which is exactly what we want. For his skin, I tried a technique that I have never done before and is a little complex. I mixed Carroburg Crimson with Lahmian Medium to create a very watery wash. I tried to get it into all of the details of his skin to make them stand out and give his flesh a sort of not quite healthy look. With his skin now looking a way that I'm quite happy with, I used Carroburg Crimson on its own to wash all of his exposed muscle. Now that Nemi is looking more terrifying and less red plasticky, the final wash I used was a tiny dab of Agrax Earthshade on his teeth, just to bring out the definition that is on the model's sculpt. Now that Nemesis is looking ready to go out and hunt for some stars, he just needs basing. For this I used, yeah, you guessed it again, Astrogranite Technical, washed with Nuln Oil, then lightly dry brushed with Celestra Grey. After that, I painted the black band around his base this time, as he is the first boss character from the core set. And there you have it, guys. The terrifying, relentless pursuer that is Nemesis. If your name is Brad Vickers, I would be very worried, and check that lump in the back of your pants. Thank you for watching this video, you guys. I wasn't initially happy with Nemesis' skin colour, but after it dried, I've actually come to quite like it. Once again, any feedback is always greatly appreciated, and I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe, survivors.